Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I think we have people here from all over the world. So welcome to our call. This is the America's Coaching Supervision Network. Is anybody here for first time? I don't think so, but I like to check. We like to check with Lily to be sure that if you have new people, we welcome them. And so you all know we meet every month, always the third Monday of the month, always at 8 a.m., all Pacific Standard Time, and always in the same Zoom ID from Lily. So there is consistency this from the last 8 years. And Lily, now I lost track of how many recordings we have from all of our meetings, but we have an amazing library of probably 100 presentations by now.
Getting there, yeah.
And so it is a great resource for people, available to everyone. And so if you have not seen some of the videos, you may want to go back to our website and access some of the recording from the past. And today we are going to follow up on the conference we have. We have the 8th conference, and we Lily were already starting to think about the 9th conference for next year. And with Lian and Lily, three of us, we coordinated and organized and facilitated the 8th conference. And we had some statistics. Lily, do you want to share some of the numbers so people get a sense of what happened if they were not there?
Yeah, we had 84 participants coming from about 16 different countries. So that was not bad for a tough year.
Yeah. And we have also the speakers, even were also from, I don't know, we lost track of how many different countries were represented just by the speakers. And here we have Via. When that was the first time, I think, that you presented at our conference. It was great to have you. And so what the idea today is to reflect on the conference, but if you were not there, to learn from the participants who attended. And we like to provide like a follow-up space for that conference. So the goal today is to do that. We were thinking that maybe we may start in the same way we started the conference, where with a couple of videos where Lian put together 2 videos after we interviewed. At the end, they were just not interviews, but people were talking. We asked them, what do you think are the trends? What are the things that supervisors need to be paying attention to? And we have several people sharing their point of view, and we discussed it, and we started the conference with that. So we're thinking that maybe we start with one of the 2 videos that we have, just as to continue the conversation, and then we will go to small groups, and we want to encourage people, if you were at the conference, to share your experience, and if you were not, to also respond to the video we're going to be sharing now. Lily, anything else you want to say before we do that?
Yeah, let's check in. Who was unable to attend the conference? 3, 4 of you. Okay, good to know. So we'll try and make sure those 4 are in groups where people are we're at the conference. Okay. So let me just share. So Leanne put together these 2 beautiful videos, 10 minutes each. We had the participants at the beginning listen to one of them or watch one of them, and then go into a small group, reflect on it, watch the second video, reflect on it. And I found it set a really nice tone to the conference. So let's watch just the first one.
That in response to immense challenges that we all know about, the massive transition that we're in globally, what do we need to do most importantly as you and I sit with our clients, our groups, our teams, whatever? I think one of the most important things in our own resourcing, apart from educating ourselves professionally, of course, is that we attend to beauty. That may surprise you. It surprised me when I sat down today and I thought, what do I want to say? And I kept thinking of James Hillman's remark, only beauty will save the world. Only beauty can save the world. So I think for us to keep our hearts open, to keep juicy, to keep alive, to keep being able to contain what sometimes is coming down the line to us in trauma, anxiety, etc., etc., etc. We need to be well-resourced by whatever forms of beauty really attract us and in which we can participate.
And humble inquiry is really about the art of listening more deeply and uncovering the unspoken dynamics that are shaping our conversations. So perhaps coaching supervision is not about knowing more. Perhaps it's about asking better questions and becoming the thoughtful and reflective practitioners that the world really needs right now. And I think to do that, as coaching supervisors, perhaps we need to help coaches hold more uncertainty and navigate complexity because their clients are bringing more of that to them every day. I think there are times perhaps we need to ask the questions we'd rather avoid because I think that discomfort is where growth often happens. And we want to be able to challenge our default ways of seeing the world because our supervisees need us to see and explore multiple perspectives. And I think we probably also need to get honest with ourselves at times about our own biases and blind spots, because of course we all have them.
To meet the needs of the future, the question I've been pondering is this: is our role to maintain, support, and anchor how things are at present, or to be part of deeper societal transformations? My involvement in work around the climate and ecological crisis, which research shows is linked to social issues such as diversity, equity, and inclusion, underlines this. It led me to co-found the CCA, the Climate Coaching Alliance. We're never alone in the supervision room. We have the history and backgrounds of ourselves, of course, and of our supervisee and their clients, and all the influences on each of us. And we also have the air we breathe, the water we drink, and so on. Everything is connected.
I really like the thought of multidisciplinary learning. So because we live in this big system, I don't think it's good enough just to learn about coaching itself. The other piece is around inviting non-duality into our space. And what does that look like? And how do we work with that? And how do we create some comfort around that for ourselves and our coaching clients or our supervision clients? And there's some examination, I think, that it's probably due in terms of examining that gray area that exists between coaching and clinicians or therapy. And how comfortable are we living and being in this world of complexity and in the global world and all the things that come along with working globally?
And what I'm finding myself most occupied by, in a way, is the fundamental question of, well, who are you as a coach? Who are you as a coach supervisor? That's a mantra within CSA. But I'm occupied by it not so much in the sense of how we answer that question, more around how we hold that question. And my sense is one of our biggest challenges at this time is how we create a space for not actually being able to answer that question, for the not knowing. So it feels like different things are going on in terms of, it feels like there's a proliferation of people offering models for this, that, and the other as to how we work. Neuroscience, claims of neuroscience and what neuroscience tells us about our brain. Questions about artificial intelligence and what it can offer versus what does it mean to be with a so-called real human. And what intrigues me about these debates is we often fall back on, it seems, a particular starting point of an assuming who we are in the first place. Because I think if we open up the question as to, well, what does AI teach us about who we think we are? And what might we need to learn about that? Maybe we're not quite who we thought we were. So my question at the moment that I'm holding and exploring, and I think we all need to be better equipped to work with, is how to be with the unknowing, how to be with the process of not really of being open to this emergent relational sense of self as always in process, so that we don't get caught up or wrapped up in some of the don't know, what feels like quite closed, almost aggressive dynamics, and instead
remain open to an emerging process.
Supervision must help coaches see patterns, not just problems, bringing system thinking, behavioral science, and cross-disciplinary insight to navigate change effectively. Second, well-being as a core supervisory competency. Supervision must embed somatic awareness, neuroscience-backed self-regulation and co-regulation, and sustainable coaching so that coaches don't just survive, but thrive. Last, expanding cultural intelligence and global sensitivity. The future of supervision is about both humility and curiosity, creating spaces where diverse voices are heard and where we as supervisors remain lifelong learners. As coaching supervision evolves, it must be bold, compassionate, and deeply human-centered. In a world that feels divided, we can help coaches build bridges between ideas, people, and possibilities.
Evolution of coaching supervision on its own. Supervision will also evolve as a paradigm. Firstly, the market demands more reflexivity on ethics and systemic aspects, and this may justify creating a new supervision function. Secondly, new paradigms deserve to be explored, especially those related to energetics. And ultimately, what should be done? Well, it's very simple. We need to do more research, much more research, especially research designed by the entire global community of supervisors. And this is the real challenge.
I think what's most important is that we start to realize that supervision is not done by the supervisor. It's done in partnership, where the supervisee is not your client, but your supervision partner. And the agenda is that which is set by the work of the supervisee. What life is knocking on the door, asking them to step up to and address. So we need to not be on the agenda of the supervisee, but the agenda that's been presented by their current, their future clients, the teams of the client, the team of teams, the organization, the stakeholders of the organization, the more than human world of the wider ecology. All of those flow through the supervisee into the supervision room. And that's why I don't start supervision by asking, what do you want from supervision, or what do we need to talk about today? But rather, what is the most important work that your world and your work is requiring us to focus on together today?
Thank you, Lily, for sharing it. And Lian, again, thanks for putting this together, this studio. We had two, but if we show the other one, we will not have time to discuss it. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go to three groups. Lily, I put the people in three groups based on who are present and who are not. And we'll have 20 minutes to share your experience. If you are not there, maybe you want to share your reactions to this video that we share with you. And then we will come back and we will ask for a volunteer for each group to share how your conversation went. So choose one person to share with everybody when we come back, okay? So let's be back in 20 minutes. Do you want to go to one of the groups? Wait a sec. Let me stop recording. Welcome back. I think the fact that you were pushed to be back is a good indicator that you we're having good conversations. And so let's go over this. We have 3 rooms. So in the room number 1, we have Richard, Sunny, Via, and Sylvia. Who would like to share how was your conversation?
I volunteered to share. Great conversation. I wasn't at the conference, and it was great to get a bit of a feel of what was discussed and how the dynamic was. We touched on a few things. We're wondering what the prompt question was for the video, and the video things, which might help interpret the comments in the video for the people who maybe weren't there. So that was a thought. We touched on a value of the conference in engaging with how supervisors can describe supervision to people who are not familiar with it. And that's often a real challenge for supervisors. We explored the process of collective inquiry in the supervision system, and how the network and the conference and conversations like this are a way of holding a collective inquiry between supervisors that holds the supervisor in their role with supervisees, and especially the multidisciplinary awareness of the 7th eye and things like that. The diversity, even divergence of points of view in the network, making it a sort of high integrity conversation that's it's not groupthink, that there are plenty of different opinions going in different directions and a real discussion around them. And in fact, having that diversity means that we don't fall into any dogma around the particular flavor of the month, because we hear a number of perhaps provocative points of view that we can incorporate into our own practice. Sylvia, Svea, Sunny, what else did I miss? What else to add to that?
I think you did a good job, Richard. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Richard. And in the room number 2, there we have Judy, Kim, Leanne, and Michael.
I'm a compulsive note taker. I was jotting things down as we went. So just capturing some of the journey that we went on together in our conversation. We started off really noting that the conference felt like a collective journey of the profession. Right? The topics as we moved through them were just so rich, and that this core group of people kind of stayed with the conversation all the way through, with others weaving in and out. But it just became this really lovely group collective experience that then we pictured almost rippling out into then the people that encounter us or that we know, and then out into the rest of the coaching world and all the clients and organizations we interact with. And coming from the space of looking to the future, like, what are we laying the ground for today? And then we brought up the fact that throughout the course of the conference, it challenged the notion that because we don't do therapy, we shouldn't be delving into past experience and its impact on the present. And that moved us into a conversation around the echo of past events living in the present, whether that's in how we're wired, our brains, our bodies, our cultures, our biases, and how the past lives in our bodies and in the collective. And then the question came up with all this that we're doing to pause and create this intentional space to process, question, and reflect. How do we then regulate ourselves in a time of uncertainty so that we can remain present and curious? And how does that impact the collective, the energy that we bring, the spaciousness, our ability to process the anxiety that's out there in ways that are grounded rather than reactive? So anything that I missed, I'm seeing the thumbs up from Kim, but anything anyone would add from my group?
Very articulated. It sounds like you prepared a presentation. That was a great summary of some of what is interesting, some of the things that repeat from the other group too, in terms of the collective learning. We ask all of the presenters to be sure that we have spaces for people to work in small groups, just to create that opportunity to learn from each other, not only from the presenters, the facilitators. And in the last group, we have Alina, Jenny, Genevieve, Kimberly, and Michelle.
Yeah,
Kimberly?
I was really honored to be with two people who had been there because I had not. So it was an incredibly rich conversation, and to try to bring the essence of it. Some of the kind of thoughts, words that came up were connection, impact, resonance, finding opportunity in chaos, and really that there's this deeply human space of meeting, with all the difficulties and challenges going on in the world. And I think that, to me, that's sort of an edge for all of us is, what is today that deeply human space? What does it look like? How do we share in it? And people have had contracts canceled and jobs lost in the chaos of other people's indiscrepancies, so to speak. And so the question is, what's here now, and transforming from this I, me, mine space more into how do we meet what's here? And then this notion that in chaos, everything is possible because there's no structure that's holding it hard and fast. And so, and then one of the kind of key things is this sense of what we really need is listening more fully and more deeply, as opposed to just learning more.
Great. Thank you, Kimberly. So this is interesting because that was one of our goals too. It's not about learning more information, but also, let's say, being together. And in that being together, being present to how what's happening in the world is affecting us, our supervisees, all of the systems we are part of. I wonder if anybody else have any reactions, just in general. We have a few minutes before we wrap up the session today to see if there are any other comments that people want to share.
So this is Michael. I really appreciated that there was a session on DEIBJ, and it felt like we were teetering on the edge of really getting into racial and social justice and supervising and coaching for racial and social justice. It seems to me there's starting to be a movement in the profession, in spite of what's going on in the world, a movement in the profession to incorporating racial and social justice, notions of coaching for emancipation, more and more into the fabric of our profession. I note that there is a new sort of institute for critical coaching that's developed that has a mission focused around that. I hope that more attention can be paid for that. Attention can be paid to that in the next conference as well. And overall, I love the conferences.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Yeah, thank you for bringing this up, because we're already starting thinking about next year. And by the way, there is a possibility we will do it in person, a part of it. So we will still keep the virtual one, but meet in Canada at Lily's Corner in Vancouver. So if people want to, not Vancouver, in Victoria Island, sorry. If you want to consider the possibility for next year in April. So Lily, you were looking at some possible dates, like we're not sure, but maybe in April.
Yes. So let me just look. So we've been missing our in-person sessions, and I just came back from Oxford Brookes, where it felt so good to be in person with people after so much. And so we are in conversations with Royal Roads University. I don't know if any of you know Royal Roads. It's a beautiful campus, big old castle, right on the water with peacocks running around and copious walks and gardens. Beautiful spot. So we're talking with them about hosting it there. April 24th, 25th, April 30th, May 1st, or May the 9th. So if there's any of those dates that don't work, we were trying to look at all the different holidays, the Jewish holidays, Easter, long weekend, all of those. And those seem to be okay. But if it doesn't work, please let us know because we'll be talking with railroads probably in early June to start the conversation.
If you know the Brooks conference dates for next year, but some people might be wanting to go to both.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm counting on that. It's usually later in May, but I will definitely reach out to Peter Jackson.
It was on the 1st of May last year because some of us got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go and do Oxford May Day choral before
cool.
we went to the conference.
Yeah, so there's that, and then the EMCC as well. We don't know when EMCC
and CSA too.
And CSA
we
has
need
some
to find out
events.
if there are any events. Like
And
they had
Solution
one this
Focused,
year
I think,
too.
has something as well. I seem to recall, correct? There was a one-day event, and Hudson. Although Hudson said their in-person isn't next year. I talked to someone in Oxford about that.
The
Sorry,
dates you
Kimberly?
mentioned, Lily. Oh, sorry, just to check, because the dates you just mentioned, one is a Friday, Saturday, and the other is a Thursday, Friday.
Oh, did I mess up on the dates? They're supposed to be
Unless
Fridays.
I might have messed up. I don't.
Oh, it's probably me.
To repeat.
Yeah, probably we do Friday and Saturday, then Sunday we can stay and do something social and go around and it's beautiful there. Like
Which is the date that I missed?
It's the 30th and the 1st are a Thursday and Friday. I think it should be the 1st and 2nd of May. 24th.
1st and 2nd, you're right.
Are you all planning anything around Converge?
Yes, we are not sure it's not probably with America's Coaching Supervision Network, but I am planning to do something the day before, so on October 22nd. So if is anybody coming to Converge here? Judy, you're coming. Michelle, Sonny, so if you're coming, plan when you do your trick to come one day early. So on the 22nd of October on Wednesday, we are planning to do something on supervision.
And I won't be traveling to the US, unfortunately, because of the political situation. So
yeah.
Yes, I think many people from all over the world, they don't want to come to the United States, and I don't blame them. But I live here, so
Some of us are already
I'm American too, so I'm
You're
an
already
American
there.
citizen too.
You can tell me what happens vicariously. How about that?
Yes, yeah.
I'd like to speak for myself and the other beyond people.
Mm.
If you're going to do a so-called in person, I'm always astonished because I think, but I am in person, I'm here. Anyway, if you're going to do an on-site conference, I would like to offer, rope me in if you want to create something which is online after, before, probably after. But I'm making an offer that I'm willing to do the work to make it possible for the beyond people to also attend in some shape or form. Because I do think that I can just tell you from living in the Southern Hemisphere with a passport that's rubbish, visas and all the rest of it, they just make it too hard basket, which is not a request to say, please don't do this on site, but I'm offering that I would be willing to work with 2 or 3 other people to make something.
Thank you.
Attached to the
Thank you for saying that, because I forgot. We did talk about a one-day virtual as well for those that can't come in person, because we don't want to be exclusive here. We know there are people that can't afford to travel and passports and all that craziness. And so, yeah, to be inclusive, we thought a one day, whether it's before or after virtually, and then truly in person. It's kind of what we
great,
thought.
because I will be coming virtually. I will not be coming in person.
Totally respect that. Thank you for that.
And there are technology ways to mix the two so that you can have both going at the same time.
Yeah, we looked at that one year.
Exactly what happened with Oxford Brooks now for 3 or 4 years. So it works wonderfully.
Yeah, we looked into that.
We looked into that probably 5 years
ago, right?
The thing is that what we're thinking is just when we meet in person, instead of having like a formal conference, to do something different, to do something that you cannot do in a virtual conference, in a virtual meeting, something like with your body, movement thing, so it may not be conducive to have that part virtually, but have still a virtual part where everybody can participate and be engaged and be part of it. So we need to see exactly. But we wanna definitely use something when we're in person. We don't want to just be sitting listening to people presenting. We want to just be sure that we really engage.
There are ways to do those asynchronous, the movement, both virtually and online at the same time. That's what we're saying.
We hear you, Sunny. And we did look into it a number of years ago when the pandemic hit.
Mm-hmm.
And to do it well, it's quite expensive to hire these companies that are very. We did it in, who was that? Elena we followed her around with the computer in Montreal because she couldn't get into Canada.
Yes.
It was quite funny. Anyways, we will look at all these ideas and think about them. It would be nice to have a virtual, like a hybrid, but to do that well, it takes a lot of work and energy and focus.
The
And the kind of
technology has really changed even in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
We'll
so
look
we need to
into it.
look into it. We need to look
If
into
you have
it.
some great ideas, Sunny, send them to us. Happy to look at it for sure.
Yeah.
All
Now
right,
we
so
have. Do you want to announcement? What's coming up in the next few months?
announcement. So next month, it's June the 16th. I will be presenting on the model, or not the model, sorry, the framework that Michelle Lucas and I have put together on group supervision. I presented at Oxford Brookes last week. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that framework, and it will be followed by a book coming out in the fall on how to run supervision groups. Svea was a big part of that. Who else was involved too? Sunny was really involved. So yeah. And then July, Judy Wolf. Judy's here. You're going to be presenting. What's your topic, Judy?
It was being with discomfort.
Right.
Working on that still. Yeah.
And I have Leanne. I have you for August. Is that still on? I've just sent you something about it. And then Reggie is going to come back in September. Deborah Howard in October. And then Deborah Miller will be talking in November about neurodivergency.
And next Monday, we have the book club.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Yes.
On May the 26th with Paul Lawrence about the wise team leader. His last book that he's just promoting right now. So it's
and what time is that at?
It's 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is 6 p.m. Central European time.
Great.
So you'll be seeing the flyer very soon. You might have already received
in the newsletter.
the newsletter.
Yeah.
You have received the newsletter already. So
Yeah, so the information is in the newsletter with the details, and also there is an activity with the team coaching special interest group, and they're going to bring somebody from ICF to talk about the requirement to renew the team coaching credential and the role of supervision on that. So if anybody's interested, that's also in the newsletter information, the details.
All right. Any last comments or thoughts before we close? That went really fast.
Thank you very much for doing the feedback for those of us not there. It gives a hint of what we missed and a spur to try not to miss it in future.
Yeah. Now we are not advertising this or doing any marketing, but the videos are available like for half price. So we are not. If we have a couple of requests and we offer that. So if anybody who is here and wanted to get them, let us know. We are not marketing them or doing that publicly, but we got a couple of requests. So if anybody here wants it, let us know and we can share that with you.
All right. See you June the 16th. Thanks for coming.
Good seeing everyone.
Thank you, Damien and Lily, for organizing us.
Yes, always.